It was a clear afternoon in Dubai, though the weather carried an invisible danger. The heat was suffocating, with temperatures reaching 49 Arctic seas, and strong shifting winds swept across the airport. High pressure over the desert clashed with cooler air from the sea, creating violent gusts and wind shear, something invisible to the human eye, but deadly for any aircraft caught in it. Emirates Flight 521, a Boeing 787-300, was on final approach to Dubai International Airport. On board were 282 passengers and 18 crew members, a total of 300 souls. Most passengers were Indian expatriates returning to Dubai in search of work and better opportunities. For them, it was supposed to be just another routine flight. The aircraft had departed earlier that morning from Trivandrum, India, under the command of Captain Khalid Al-Mansour, a veteran pilot with more than 7,400 hours of flying experience, and First Officer James Webb, an Australian with over 8,000 hours in the air. Both men were considered highly competent, and Emirates had long been regarded as one of the safest airlines in the world. But sometimes fate tests even the best. As Flight 521 lined up with runway 12L, the conditions appeared stable. Air traffic control cleared them to land, yet hidden in the air was a dangerous trap. Just before, two other aircraft had attempted to land on the same runway, but had to abort due to sudden wind shear. Neither the pilots of those flights nor the controllers shared this vital detail with Flight 521. The approach looked normal, speed steady, altitude correct. Captain Khalid eased the nose slightly upward, beginning the flare maneuver to soften the landing. But he flared a second too soon. Instead of touching down in the designated touchdown zone, the aircraft began floating just above the runway. Seconds passed. The Boeing glided stubbornly, refusing to meet the ground. Behind them, the safe landing zone slipped away. Ahead, the runway shortened with alarming speed. The blazing surface of the runway, heated to 68 degrees, created thermal updrafts, pushing the plane back upward, while shifting winds suddenly reversed from tailwind to headwind, giving the wings extra lift. The giant aircraft floated like a kite, just a few feet above the ground, but never settling. The captain tried again to force it down, but the right landing gear only brushed the tarmac lightly. Finally, realizing they had passed the safe zone, Captain Khalid made the call. Go around. The crew initiated a go-around, expecting the aircraft to climb back into the sky. On modern jets, this maneuver is powered by a critical system called TOGA, Takeoff Go-Around. When activated, TOGA commands the engines to maximum thrust, allowing the plane to power away safely. But there was a hidden catch. TOGA only works if the aircraft hasn't already touched down. Even a brief brush of the wheels on the runway disables the system to prevent accidental activation while rolling on the ground. Unbeknownst to Captain Khalid, their aircraft had already registered a touchdown. The TOGA switches he pressed were now useless. Believing the system was working, the pilots pulled the nose up. The first officer even called out, "Positive climb." The landing gear was retracted, but the engines, still at idle power from landing mode, never spooled up. The Boeing climbed only 85 feet before its speed bled away, the cockpit filled with warning sounds. Suddenly, the captain realized the truth. This wasn't a normal go-around. They were caught in wind shear with no engine power. He slammed the throttles forward manually. But by then, it was too late. The massive jet sank back down and slammed into the runway belly first, gear retracted. The impact shook the cabin violently, throwing loose objects across the aisles. Passengers screamed as sparks erupted beneath them. The aircraft skidded for 800 meters, scraping along its engines and fuselage before spinning around and coming to rest in a cloud of dust and smoke. For a brief moment, silence, then fire. Flames erupted from the right engine and landing gear bay, licking hungrily at the fuselage. In the cockpit, Captain Khalid sent out a desperate call. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Evacuation in progress. Inside the cabin, chaos reigned. Passengers ignored instructions, unbuckling seatbelts and reaching for overhead bags. Some clutched laptops and heavy suitcases as if possessions mattered more than life itself. This selfishness clogged the aisles, slowing the evacuation. The crew rushed to open emergency exits, but the fierce desert winds tore several slides away or rendered them useless. Of the 10 exits, only 3 at the rear remained functional. Nearly 300 people now had to squeeze through them. Children cried as parents struggled to push through the crush. A family lost their 7-year-old daughter in the chaos, frantically searching while blocking the flow of passengers. Flight attendants had to make the impossible choice. Go now. We'll find her. One by one, passengers tumbled down the slides. Fire trucks arrived, but in their haste, they parked dangerously close to exits, creating more obstacles. Firefighters sprayed water haphazardly, ignoring the hidden fire spreading in the landing gear bay. 7 minutes passed, an eternity in an evacuation. Finally, the last passengers escaped, but inside remained 3 people: Captain Khalid, First Officer Webb, and the lead flight attendant, who refused to leave without searching one last time for the missing child. They donned breathing equipment and tried to enter the smoke-filled cabin, but the inferno forced them back. What they didn't know was that the little girl had already escaped with other passengers and was safe outside. Then came the explosion. A massive fireball ripped through the fuselage, blasting a 15-meter section of the wing into the air. The falling debris struck a firefighter, killing him instantly. Others were badly injured. Inside, the 3 crew were thrown to the ground but survived, managing to crawl out moments later. When the fire was finally subdued, the Boeing 777 was reduced to a charred shell. Miraculously, all 300 passengers and crew survived the crash and evacuation, though 4 flight attendants were critically injured and 21 passengers sustained minor injuries. The only fatality was the brave firefighter who lost his life battling the blaze. Investigators later revealed the causes: misjudged flare and wind shear at touchdown. The disabling of toga after a partial landing, something the pilots didn't realize. And most critically, failure to recognize that the engines had not powered up during the go-around. Automation, which had become a trusted partner in aviation, had in this case become a silent trap. Emirates Flight 521 will forever remain a chilling reminder of how quickly a routine landing can spiral into disaster, and how survival often hangs by the thinnest of threads.